Hello and welcome to Let's Talk episode 9. It doesn't have to come easily. Now, why is this such an important thing to learn? As a life coach, I'm very focused on what we're thinking and what we're believing and how that impacts the way that we experience life, how we feel about ourselves and others. And so I want to share this thought today. It doesn't have to come easily. So, several months ago, some time ago, I was driving to a business that I was hoping to get a sponsorship from because I do a lot of fundraising, I do a lot of events and workshops and all kinds of things. so, I have a nonprofit as well, and just the different things that I'm involved in. It often involves talking to someone, trying to get a sponsorship, and get support for an event or some kind of activity or I don't know, just all kinds of things. and I was driving to this place and I just was so excited because I had this whole plan in my head of we're going to do this and this and this. It's all going to fall into place and it's going to be amazing and so successful. And as I was driving there, I just had this little thought that was like, it doesn't have to come easily. And I was like, okay, whatever, kept on driving. And I got to the business and yeah, I got just no response. And I was telling about this amazing event I'm going to do and love to get your support. And it was just like, nah, nah. And so that really did impact the way that I started to feel as things weren't going according to plan. That I had it figured out. Like, this is how it could be so easy. And everything just come together. And it wasn't. And it didn't and and I just met challenge after challenge after challenge for months. It was a really difficult situation. And I've often thought back to that. Every time I think, oh, I should give up. I shouldn't have tried. Um, it was a mistake to even try to do this and whatever I was working on. And I have to come back to that little feeling of it doesn't have to come easily. Now, today I took my 8-year-old for a walk, and he um, didn't want to go on the walk, but we had made a goal. We'd set goals for the summer, and one of the goals was to do a daily mile. And this is something we did years ago, and I'm bringing it back again to my family. So every day, at least 5 days a week, they are going to go for a walk or a jog for a mile. And it's not hard, it's not a big deal, but just to have that little goal to get them outside, keep them moving, have them do something um, before they start, getting into books and Legos and other things that are more sedentary. And so it's just really funny because he was like, maybe I'll just do half a mile. And my legs are going to fall off. He had all these reasons of why he shouldn't keep going with his mile. But I was like, nope, we're going to do it. This is a requirement. And, if they want to have screen time, then they have to meet all the requirements. And another episode will be on that, like how to really monetize your power as a parent when it comes to screen time. You can really milk that for all it's worth. So that'll be another episode, but it's something I strongly believe in. I have 6 kids, so the one I'm talking about is my youngest. Um, so I kept talking to him, and as we're going down the street, and we actually make a triangle, the streets make a triangle. Like, we're just gonna do 2 triangles. It's not big. It's gonna be fine. But he had all these reasons of why he shouldn't do it. It was too hard and it's getting too hot. And like, okay, well, let's walk in the shade, and so I also was doing math problems just to get him thinking like about something else, like distraction. I was doing a lot of that. So how long do you think it might take us to make 2 laps? That's 1 mile. And then he thought it'd be 20 minutes. Oh, well, how much time do you think it would take for one lap if both are going to take 20? And so anyway, we did all these math problems, and it helped him to kind of keep going at least. And we got around the first time, and he sat down on the curb, and he was just, I'm so tired. My legs are gonna fall off. I'm just gonna do a half a mile today. And I was like, it doesn't have to be easy, but the more you do it, you're going to get better at it. So it'll become easy in the future. So So he reluctantly got up again, and I checked my timer. I was like, oh, look, it's been over 10 minutes and we still have a whole lap to do. Can we get the second one before the timer? And so he actually asked me about 5 minutes later, where are we on time? And so I checked it. We only had 3.5 minutes to get the rest of the way home. So he started jogging a little bit. And then we had 1 minute and our house was in sight and we had to run to get to the driveway. And I thought in my head, I was thinking, if I give up, if I let him give in to the discomfort, how much easier it's going to get to give in to the discomfort every time. And then it's going to be training him to think, oh, something's hard, therefore I should stop. Therefore, it just is proof that I can't do this, that my legs are too weak and I don't have capacity. And he totally does. He's a very healthy, very active, rambunctious 8-year-old boy. He can totally do a mile. No big deal. So I just was thinking about that, and I wanted to share that today too, um, because what an opportunity for us to make peace with challenges. And I'm kind of tying this back to episode 7, when things aren't working out, what to do when things aren't working out. And in this case, this kind of follows up with, yeah, this is something you should do. That's good for you. And so if you quit, you're really kind of sabotaging your health and your wellness, but also your self trust and your self belief. So I don't want to be, giving up too soon with my kids and their goals that they've set, and then for myself and my own goals. So I want to show you in the thought cycle diagram today what this looks like. When we think that things should be easy, or we know they shouldn't be, but then when they're hard, then we're like, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for this. This is harder than I thought. So I'm going to give you an example of just in terms of goal setting, because we all have goals. We all have things that we want to achieve, and it gets hard. I don't know of any goal that I've ever had that just was smooth sailing and the easiest thing ever. They always take effort. They always require us to stretch and to get outside of our comfort zone. And in the process of stretching, there's discomfort, there's pain, there's learning something new, there's not knowing something, not knowing a process, a task, a skill, or not knowing the outcome. What's going to happen if I try to reach this goal? So I'm just going to put up here goal, because it could be any goal that you have. And if you think, I have it all figured out, it's going to be so good, it's going to be so easy. And I don't want to say don't be an optimist. Don't let go of that. You need to have that excitement and that belief that it can happen. Otherwise, you would never set the goal in the first place and even try. But there's something I want to show you as we work through this. So we have a goal and we think, I have it all planned out. It's going to be amazing. That's totally the mentality I was in when I was driving over to that business to try to get their support and sponsorship, right? So I had all this. How was I feeling when I thought that? I was feeling very excited, hopeful, and confident. And while I'm having these thoughts about my goal and I'm having these emotions, excited, hopeful, confident, and determined, then I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of energy to go after my goal. So I was calling people, I was emailing people, I was driving to show up in person, in-person contact, because I was so sure this was just gonna, here it is. This is the idea, it's gonna happen. So I'm calling, emailing, I'm making in-person contact, and then, and my result was I was putting myself out there, okay? And and a lot of times people I was talking to were like, "Oh, this sounds wonderful. I love what you're doing." So there was positive response. Okay. And so as long as I was putting myself out there, I was getting positive response. That really fueled this thought. This is going to be great. It's going to be amazing. I have it all planned out. It's just going to go perfectly. And so I'm doing all this stuff and I'm feeling all this confidence and high positive energy. And then what happened? Okay, so then let's see what happens next. Then I started to get blank stares from some people, and calls were not returned or emails were not responded to. So now, my goal isn't getting accomplished. Okay, is what because I got a big fat no from several people, and the event happened, and so, yeah, that goal that I had was not accomplished, and so then I started to think, something went wrong. This was a mistake. Whoops. This is me talking and thinking and writing at the same time. This was a mistake. Okay, and when I'm thinking that, because the goal isn't panning out the way I thought, I had it so perfectly planned out, and it's not accomplishing in the way that I thought. So something went wrong. This was a mistake, and now how am I going to feel? And it's so interesting because our emotional response is a direct result of what we think and believe. So I'm thinking something went wrong. This was a mistake, and I feel very discouraged and disillusioned. Oh, another word that I have to, I'm like, one S, two S's. Yeah, I don't know. And so I'm feeling discouraged, disillusioned, and then I want to quit. My action is I slow down effort. And I start to give up. And so what's my result going to be? When I have a goal, and I start to think, this was a mistake, I shouldn't have tried this, this is too hard, and I'm slowing down because I'm feeling discouraged, disillusioned, I'm slowing down my effort, I start to give up, and then my result is I'm not going to reach my goal because I stop, right? And I take on a new belief that that I shouldn't try things like this that are hard. I shouldn't try things that are pushing me outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. So I'm creating this new belief. I can't do it. Okay. So that's the result. I'm not putting myself out there. I don't have that same energy and that same hopeful vision. And it just continues to feed this. Something went wrong, this was a mistake, and it goes around and around. And then I thought, I can change the way I feel. I can change the way I feel by changing what I think. And I got back to that thought, this doesn't have to come easily. Okay? So if I start to adopt that, this doesn't have to come easily. Erase my trusty board. This is so fun. I like doing this kind of thing. It doesn't have to come easily. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to come easily opens up my thinking and believing that things are working out, even when it doesn't seem like they are. So I have a goal and it's not magically happening in the time frame that I had established, thinking I know exactly how it should go, right? Thinking I've got so much control, the harder I work, then it's just going to naturally happen. But coming to that point of saying it doesn't have to come easily, making peace with that, and letting my nervous system say that's okay. And I think that's what making peace with something is all about. It's training your nervous system to to have a sense that when things aren't going the way that I think they should, I'm not in danger. I don't need to go into a threat response. That's how we make peace with something. Our circumstance, whatever it is, the past, the present, um, a relationship that didn't work out, or a job that you lost, or a death in the family. There's so many things, traumatic events. Making peace with it is helping your body to no longer go into a threat response. And so then you can continue to be even keeled. You can continue to have hope. You can continue to have confidence that good things are still in store, even when the goal isn't panning out and unfolding the way that you thought it should. But that's the key. It doesn't have to come easily. And being okay with that opens you up to so much more potential, so much more sense of self-trust and capacity and self-belief that even though things aren't panning out the way I thought, maybe they're still working out for my good. Maybe it's going away that's going to teach me more than if it had gone easily. Maybe this is really valuable that it didn't work out smoothly and simply the first time, or the 10th time, or however it might be, right? So now let's look at this. It doesn't have to come easily. Your nervous system state can remain in the parasympathetic nervous system state, and that is where you can rest and digest. Interesting. So rest and digest is a kind of a happy little jingle that helps us to understand why it's so important to bring ourselves into a state of feeling safe. We literally cannot rest and digest our food. Our body systems are are strained and maybe go haywire when we are in a threat response, when we're in fight, flight, freeze, something like that. So when we can be in our parasympathetic state, we're calm. We can rest. Our mind is not going a million miles an hour, creating all these thoughts that creates anxiety. When we can say, it doesn't have to come easily. If you're struggling with a teenager, you're struggling with a spouse, you're struggling with an extended family member, a neighbor, a boss, a coworker, and you have this idea of how it can finally be resolved and everything can be fine and they'll just accept everything I say is right. I can be correct in all things and not challenged. That's fictional, right? But if we say it doesn't have to come easily, we're so much more content during the waiting for it to become resolved. So it doesn't have to come easily. Making peace, accepting that. And so let's see, how am I going to feel? It doesn't have to come easily. I feel peaceful. There's still hope right? Things can still work out. It doesn't have to be fixed today or even in the next few months. It doesn't have to come easily. In the waiting, I can work on myself, I can work on the relationship, I can do the little pieces that I have control over. And then over time, it's going to make a difference. It's going to put me on a trajectory of growth and learning and have new ideas come, new solutions will come that I can't think of right now because I haven't gotten there yet. So if I feel okay with this, it doesn't have to come easily. I can be peaceful, I can be hopeful, I can be compassionate. If it's a relationship problem, and I say this relationship doesn't have to be easy, it doesn't have to be fixed overnight, it can be years of working at it. It's going to be okay. I'm going to look for ways to support the other person instead of being so focused on how I'm being mistreated because I'm not being heard. And I mean, yeah, there's definitely points where we are generally being mistreated. In a lot of cases, though, we might think we're being mistreated, but we're also not extending fair treatment to the other person. We're only looking at what we're not getting, what we feel like we should get, and it's, not working out as easily as we want it to. So if we allow a relationship to be complicated, to have messy stages, we're going to be compassionate to look for how can I better support this person instead of being focused on myself. I'm also going to become creative on what to do in the meantime. I'm going to look for ways to improve the situation in small degrees, right? Look for ways to improve in small degrees. Because I tell you, if every single day you looked for one way to feel compassion for the person you're stressed and frustrated with, and looked for a way to see how you could support them without asking for anything in return, one time every day would add up. It would make drastic difference in the long run. It might take weeks, it might take months, but you think about that in the long term. Wow, we're going to have a better relationship. I'm going to offer all of this evidence to their brain that they can take or not. But here's more evidence of me being compassionate and understanding and patient with them, and maybe setting a clear boundary, but still showing love and showing compassion and concern for their well being. It's not all about me, it's about both of us. And I'm bringing both of us into this story, not just my own sense of injustice. And certainly it's going to work little by little. Let's look at fixing things by degrees and not just major jumps and stretches, but just little degrees. And that will undoubtedly make a difference. And I've seen that too, where I've been frustrated or stressed and worried about a relationship. What made the biggest difference? Little degrees of kindness and compassion, and trying to see things the way that they are experiencing it, not how I think they should experience it. That's a major shift. It doesn't have to come easily. This relationship is going to take time, but it won't get any better if I don't try. If I do try, it is going to make difference, and it's going to be little by little that's going to add up and make the biggest change. So then the result, I'm looking at this goal, it isn't accomplished. I have a new way of looking at my challenges. And I like to say, when we're thinking about goals, look at the obstacles. What is the obstacle? The thing that feels like it's an obstacle to reaching your goal. So what are my obstacles? Whatever it might be. Somebody said no, they don't want to help me with my project, or it's a relationship. They're not doing what I want them to do. They're not behaving the way I want them to behave. But I can look at those obstacles in a different way when I'm willing to say, it doesn't have to come easily. This is hard. This is painful. And I'm going to have waves of sadness when something is not going easily, when I'm feeling challenged and stretched and I have to learn new skills and I have to calm my pride and calm my sense of injustice. I have to calm that down. And that takes effort. And a lot of times we want to be in our survival mode, which is easy. Feed me grapes and fan me, please. Don't make me have to stretch and do things that are hard. But if we can come to a point of being at peace, it doesn't have to come easily, then everything's okay. And in the process of learning and growing and waiting and making these little degrees of effort, we could become a better person. So if the relationship just never can be healed, which can happen, divorce sometimes is really the necessary step, or distancing yourself from somebody, that definitely is a justified thing to do at times. But then can you have become a better person and less bitter by adopting this? It doesn't have to come easily. And with my little boy, for him to start to understand walking the block doesn't have to be easy. It just has to be done. And he can do it. And the more he does it, the easier it will get. His legs will get stronger. His muscles will handle the pressure better, and the strain. It's not even hard, but we have a pretty big downhill and then a pretty big uphill. So, yeah, and then there's very flat. So it is challenging. But I think the more we just keep pushing ourselves along, it doesn't have to be easy. We calm that nervous system. Get into our rest and digest, where the thinking part of the brain is now active and available to you. Okay, my friends, so I hope that you enjoyed this, thinking about it doesn't have to come easily, making peace with that, finding that calm, finding that hope, and that expansion of you and the possibilities. Doesn't have to be one track. It could be many that gets you where you want to go. And it might actually help you to change your destination. Maybe a perfect relationship isn't the goal. Maybe an enduring relationship is the goal. When there's a rift, you're able to repair. There's a rift, you're able to repair. Don't settle for abuse. But in a normal relationship, there's always going to be a little rift, and then you want to have repair. It doesn't have to come easily all the time, but it can come. It will come. It's coming right now. By making these little efforts, it's coming. So thank you, everybody. This is the magic of life coaching, of using the thought cycle diagram, understanding thoughts, emotions, and how we behave, how they're all connected, and then seeing the results that we create by understanding this whole process. So my name is Michelle Cox. I'm a life coach. I'm the CEO for the Changemakers of East Texas. And thank you for joining me Tuesdays at 2 Central, right here, Facebook Live or YouTube, wherever you're catching the recording. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.